Hello everybody. This video is going to look at what are signposts and how do you do them in your writing. So first of all, let's talk about what a signposting is. In the same way as when you are driving along in your car, signposts provide ways in which you can get to where you're going if you don't happen to have Google Maps or something else. What they do is they provide the way of where your essay or your paper is going. They might be words, phrases, or sentences that provide the structure around how your paper is written. So in an essay where you're doing, arguing a particular point, it transitions the different parts of the argument, broken up the argument. In a critical appraisal or an evaluation of a research article, what signposting can do is it can demonstrate the transitions as you go through your writing. So flag the important parts of the paper. It will help you transition, and it will clarify what you're actually talking about in your writing. And that's actually important because your marker needs to know where you're going. And yeah, so that's important. Now, a trick for young players, as it were, there are ways in which you can do it that are really useful, but you need to do it and use it with some skill. Otherwise, what can occur is it looks overly clumsy in your writing. So you can't just put them in later, for example. It's important that you don't just go through your essay at the end and go, right, I don't have any signposts, I better put them in. So these work instead of having headings. So headings signal to a reader that you are transitioning to a new section. Signposting in what you're going to be doing is going to provide the structure that a heading might have done. Okay, so it informs the reader that the point of the next paragraph is different to the one that's previous. It might be delving into a counter argument in an essay, for example, or giving a different background, something like that. So it is a little bit different than in the case of use of headings, where you just go title. Like in here, we could have put all the key components of the assignment. So I'm going to show you on a couple of assignments what I mean by signposting. So in this assignment, which you've got up on your in the support for critical evaluation of the research article, this is one of the assignments, and so is another one I'm going to show you. So what we've got here is a general introduction, and then this moves into some signposting here. So it tells us what we're going to see in this paper. So it will critically appraise the above named research. A review of other literature will allow for careful analysis and examination. This assignment will explore the structure of the research process with its key components, and finally will evaluate this research. Okay, now there's a few things here. So you can see within these two paragraphs there are 4 elements of signposting. What this writer is doing is demonstrating where the paper is going at the beginning. Now the writer has done this with 4 sentences. A couple of them are overly wordy, but that's okay, because this writer, like you, was doing their first critique. So it's interesting. You can do it as sentences, which this person has done, or as I said, that you can use phrases and words. Now, this word finally is the spot in which the writer has used sort of joining words to demonstrate where this is going. So while the other parts of the two paragraphs here are in sentences, here they've used, so you might say additionally, you might say consequently, also, in contrast, those sorts of things might come into your writing through here. Now, throughout the rest of this paper, we don't see a great deal of signposting between paragraphs. Sometimes people will say, we'll do that. And here, what we're seeing, so the use of considering that those who suffer from mental illness. Now that is a poorer way to start a paragraph, because it's making the assumption of that you know what came beforehand, and it's actually not up to the reader to infer it. It's up to the writer to say it clearly. Okay, so throughout here there is not a lot of signposting within paragraphs. Let's look at the next example. So this one again, as a general introduction, again says this will begin with a critical analysis of the chosen journal article, the use of blah 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 blah. So this is the signposting, and then it says, and we relate it back to improvement of evidence-based practice. So it says, well, critically analyse the journal article and tell us whether it's useful to be used in practice effectively. Here the person also tells us why we would use a systematic approach to analysing research, which is useful. But again, we don't see a lot of signposting within the paper. Now, how they would do that within the paper is they would say things like, so for here, this paragraph's on the abstract, and that next paragraph because it's on the abstract, should be joined to here. And at the end of this paragraph, it could say, now having critiqued the title, author qualifications, and the abstract, this paper will move on to discussing the literature review. So that single sentence is signposting that demonstrates to the reader that you're in control of the writing. And it stands in, it's saying this is what we're going to be doing next. Move on into the literature review, because you don't have headings. Now, it is a little trickier to write those. Okay, so it's important that you do that. So here, this is an attempt to do some signposting. What this sentence could have been improved by saying, should contain methodology, sampling, and ethics, and this will be discussed now. Okay, so that's the sort of thing that can improve. So really what you're doing is demonstrating that you're driving the writing, that the writing isn't driving you. So we don't see a lot of signposting in here, because again, as I said, the writer is new to writing. Now this one here, this is quite a nice paper too, so let's have a look at this. I wonder if we can get it a bit bigger. There we go. So begin with a critical analysis of specific paper in order to demonstrate how evaluation of research should proceed. It provides, a systematic critical analysis provides a framework for evaluating validity and usefulness of the research, allowing for contextualization of the information within a broader field of pain management as it relates to nursing practice. So what this is saying is, I'm going to critically analyse the paper to see if it's useful effectively. That's what that's saying. But it's telling you what's going to be done. So then this student goes on again and talks about the systematic approach that should occur. And then through here, there are, I think there were some further ones that were, again, not a lot of signposting within the paper, but this is quite, the critique of this is quite good. This paper was a very good paper because their analysis of the sections was quite detailed, but again the signposting isn't as clear. So, but here, for example, you see some signposting here where it says this is what we're going to move on to next. Okay, so that's how you can do it. So at the end of the paragraph, what you can do is, having discussed methodology, this paper will move on to discussing sampling. So I hope that has been helpful. This is, so signposting, just to review, words, phrases or sentences that guide your reader and show them where the paper is going. They replace headings in this type of writing. So headings provide an obvious and overt way in which you move between sections. Signposting provides a much more subtle move between sections in this way, but it provides good structure for your paper, and that's why if you can try and do it, you will. I'd imagine if you Google signposting in writing that there would be things around about that. It's quite a well-known essay technique, but you may not have come across it because depending on when you attended school, you may not have received a lot of grammatical training. There certainly was a period in which teaching grammar was not popular and people were supposed to get it out of the air, and I think that has been difficult for some students as they transition to university. But I hope this has been helpful, and I look forward to reading your assignments.